Every year on April 25, Australians and New Zealanders commemorate ANZAC Day. It was at dawn on this day in 1915 that the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, together with forces from Britain, India and France, landed on the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey for one of the bloodiest campaigns of World War I. In Thailand, ANZAC Day begins at Hellfire Pass, a small section of the infamous Burma-Thailand Railway that was built by Australian and Allied POWs during the Second World War. 60,000 Allied prisoners were recruited, along with 200,000 Asian labourers, to build the Japanese railway in horrific conditions. More than 13,000 POWs lost their lives, along with almost half of the Asian workforce. On this day, 1,200 people made their way into Hellfire Pass, so named for the bamboo torches that once lit this gateway, as it was cut into the mountain piece by starving and tortured Australians, Brits, Dutch, American and other prisoners. Among the visitors, children and grandchildren of the POWs, military officers, clergy, Thai dignitaries, ambassadors and those who'd simply come to pay their respects. The guests of honour, 4 former Australian POWs, all in their 90s, all still standing strong.
Our Father God, we remember before you all who have lived and died in the service of humankind and in the service of their country.
The service began as the sun crept through the trees and the birds of the jungle came to life. As candles burned, visitors imagined and veterans remembered. Then it was time to lay the wreaths. The guests of honour here today were 4 former POWs who worked on the cutting itself, one of them here for the very first time since the Second World War. Cliff, can you tell me, is this your first visit back here to Hellfire Pass?
Since the war, first visit back, yes.
And for you, why did you decide to come this year after all these years?
Particularly this year because my son said he was coming back, and if I wouldn't come with him, he'd go on his own. So naturally I said, I'll go with you. And here I am.
So what was it like for you seeing the service here today and seeing all these people here?
Oh, very emotional, but I can handle it.
So for you, how long were you here at Hellfire Pass?
Here about, I think it was 4 months doing this channel, this cutting here.
Yes. Have you come here with just your son or any other family?
He's standing there behind you, actually.
There he is, with the camera on. So tell me, you decided to convince your dad to come along here today. Was it hard to convince him?
I don't think it was very hard to convince him, no, because I think, as he would have told you, he hasn't been back since he was here with them, and so because of his age, obviously, I would imagine that he wanted to return back to, to put some of the demons to rest, I suppose, over those years while he was here. Yeah.
Do you think it's been quite cathartic for him and for both? Do you think it's been good for both of you to do this?
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, I believe it's been very good for both of us, particularly for me to come back and to see some of the work that he has done here on this pass, and just it must have been very difficult for them. I couldn't imagine being able to do that work in the heat and to work, I believe, from about 5 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. So it was a very long work days. Us younger generation, I don't think we would be able to put up with it. We just wouldn't survive.
How was the service for you this morning?
Wonderful, as usual. Very moving, very emotional, lots of memories.
How many times have you attended the dawn service here?
12, this is my 12th. And each one gets more emotional.
Yes. It doesn't get any easier, no?
No.
And I've got your friend Snow here next to you with his fantastic hat. Good morning, Snow. How are you? What did you think of today's service?
Very good. Lost some 2 years ago, and it gets. I think it's one of the best services around. You sort of feel the spirits here in the early part of it.
It must be great seeing that so many people have journeyed here from all over the place.
Well, a crowd, haven't they, this year? And it's better and better. I had my young bloke up here last year, and I hope to get him next year. So bring some of the family up. And it is very emotional, and you do get back with your mates for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best things is seeing your mates again.
True. Yeah. Yes. No, it's about mateship, and it's still carrying on. Yeah.
One of your best mates right here next to you, Bill. Bill Haskell. Good morning, Bill. Good to see you. Now, for you, does it get any easier coming back here year after year?
Well, it doesn't get any harder. we're kind of inured to it. But it's always a great pleasure to come along here and pay tribute to the boys who didn't make it. And there are so many of our mates who didn't make it along the track here, and we just love to remember them. And I'm so glad to see you people here this year. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful seeing so many young people too that have come along. And I mean, do they ask you a lot of questions about what happened in those days?
Well,
Some awkward.
Yes. But there's more than 70 young people from Australia. I think. Do you think it's great that schools are encouraging young people to learn about their history in this way?
well, we've specialised in bringing young people. We bring young people, specifically. Last year we brought up about 40. This year we got somewhere around 30, 28, 30. And they learn so much, and they're changed people. They a fortnight up in the area here, and going through the areas that we went, they are different children, and they'll go back and they'll pass the message on. And that's what we're really about, right?
Is this the first time you've been here with your dad?
No, fourth time.
Fourth time, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Each time is very
Third time.
What a photo you want?
What's it like for you coming here with him to see this?
very, very emotional.
Glad we've got him here. Be able to share the chance, the opportunity.
It's amazing to be able to share it with him, because most people can't share it with their dads or their loved ones because they're not here.
Yeah, and he's full of beans, isn't he?
He's doing very well. Getting a bit, he's getting smaller as the years go past, but not in spirit.
Absolutely.
He's going to outlive me, actually.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Other veterans of World War II were also here to honour their comrades. Harry here is a veteran also of World War II. So, Harry, what did you think of today's service?
Today was a memory that will never be erased. Even though I wasn't a prisoner of war, I was in World War II, and we had no idea, the other serving members, just what the POWs were going through. When we found out later on, it was a revelation. We thought we had it tough. We were feather bedded compared to what they had. And coming here today in the company of the 3 POWs is something I'll never forget. I'm very old, at over 90. I'll remember this for the rest of the life I have.
So, Guy, can you tell me a little bit about today, the reason that's brought you here to Hellfire Pass here in Thailand?
Well, look, it was a very sombre occasion here at Hellfire Pass, and it was a great honour and a great privilege to be with POWs, including Cliff, and that was very special. So my great uncle was here, Laurie Thine, Lieutenant Laurie Thine, and there were many from the 2nd 40th Battalion from Tasmania. So I have a special interest in the role of the Tasmanians here, together with their colleagues on the mainland as Australian POWs.
Do you think back home in Australia, many Australians are aware of Hellfire Pass and what took place here?
No, I don't think they are, and that's one of the reasons I'm here as well, because I think they should know. It's perhaps a bit of a forgotten part of our history in Australia, the role of the POWs. They were forgotten. very much so, and I think their service to our country as POWs and the sacrifices that they made, the suffering that they endured for those 3.5 years under the Japanese here in Thailand and in many other places throughout Asia was almost incomprehensible. And the honour and respect that they deserve cannot be overestimated.
Along with the veterans and their families, dozens of Australian school children who'd been specially selected to travel to Thailand to learn their history through personal experience. If you can't stand in someone's shoes, you can at least walk in their footsteps. Along with the former POWs on this trip are quite a few young people from schools in Australia, and I believe there's more than 70 of them. Now, who have we got here?
Ziggy McGill.
Ziggy?
Yep.
So where are you from?
Esperance.
And where is that?
WA, Australia.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about what you've learned on this trip.
Just how hard it was for the POWs and like how they got treated. It was pretty rough, and just what they did over here.
Yeah. Paul, what have you learned on this trip?
Well, what I went through was very harsh, and it was like harsh.
Yeah, it was harsh. It was tough, I guess. And what I've learned from a lot of these POWs, having met them, they had a great sense of humour too, didn't they? Have you noticed that with these guys? They still even have it these days.
Yeah, well, Bill, he talks most on when we have the stories told, and then Snow, he's always making jokes about what he says and stuff, so it shows that they've still got the sense of humour and stuff.
Yeah. What have you learned after meeting these POWs?
I learnt that mateship really can get you through the worst of anything, and that even when you have your friends there, you can get through anything and look after each other. It's the main thing. Yeah. To have that sort of thing.
Have you enjoyed this trip? Have you learned a lot on this experience?
Definitely. I definitely have. I'll definitely come home a different person from it.
What about you, Grace? What have you learned on this trip?
Well, camaraderie is very important, and it just shows you that it boosts your morale, and so you can just be happy and get through things.
Yeah. Do you think you could survive the same thing yourself?
Pretty tough, but probably not.
Do you think today's generation has what it takes to survive what you survived here?
I think so. We must always look forward, and the younger generation are going to be the next defenders of our country.
So you have a lot of faith in them too, yeah?
Of course I have. Yes. We have, yes.
The service then moved into Kanchanaburi, to the town's famous war cemetery. Here, those who suffered were remembered through prayers, flowers and tributes.
And in the morning, we will remember them.
It is a sad day, but one to also celebrate fortitude, endurance and humour, 3 traits that helped so many to survive and help to forge a stronger and better future for generations to come.